We're not talking the great game. That's what Starmer's playing. There's a thing above that where real power is, actual power.
Right.
That's the sport of kings, and they got no problem killing a king.
You know, if they're planning everything in advance, I would say that with him, sun is at 0 degrees. It's like starting a fresh new monarchy, modernizing the monarchy, perhaps, because
I think it's a restoration. I think it's a restoration. I think a thing was set in motion in the 1960s, and what was set in motion in the 1960s by the assassinations of the Kennedys and others was a recognition that we have to bring about the full removal of this Praetorian system, this Praetorian regime. But when William comes in, he will have the full faith, force, and support of the United States. So it would make sense to me, because when I look at a counterinsurgency and open source intelligence, we expect violence to start stepping up here in February, March of next year.
My wife and I have been happily married for over 25 years. However, there's no stopping the march of time and the slow, steady decline in testosterone level. Luckily, I've discovered a natural, safe herbal formula that boosts testosterone levels. My wife and I are still happily married, but she now complains that I'm being a bit of a nuisance. You too can be a nuisance by boosting your testosterone levels naturally. Go to bit.ly/CryptoRichBoost and boost your testosterone levels today.
Using Wi-Fi without NordVPN could mean sharing your private stuff with more people than you think. NordVPN. Online security starts with a click.
Hey, hey, Lauren. Thank you so much for making yourselves available.
Thank you for having us.
This is the first time that I have had EM in conjunction with Lauren iCrypto on my Zoom, on my channel. So you're both conjunct. Well, that means you're next to each other. I think that's what that means. Lauren, do you want to say a little bit about yourself?
I am an astrologer. I interpret the crypto market using astrology, and I also look at geopolitical events and use astrology to interpret possibly the outcome of different events, looking at countries, heads of countries, and such as well.
Yeah.
And I have a YouTube channel as well, iCrypto.
Yes, and you do personal readings as well.
Yes, I do, yes.
And you've gifted me a personal reading, which was rather spot on. So thank you very much for that. And also a friend of mine has had a reading with you, and a cousin's contacted me to have a reading with you. So I'll have your links in the description below. EM, would you like to introduce yourself briefly, please?
Oh, I'm on the opposite end of the spectrum. I'm an engineer. And I look at how electron flows are going around circuits to figure out what's happening in the universe.
Very good. All right. Very good. Ian, I suggested doing a video with Lauren.
Yes.
And you said yes straight away.
Yes.
Why did you say yes? Because she's an astrologer. You know, you're hard science and engineering, plus your military background. Why astrology? Come on.
Well, one, it's been around for a very long time. So I'm an electrical engineer by training and a computational engineer by doctoral studies. It would be ludicrous for us to think that the quantum field isn't connected to all things at every scale, and that, from the cellular level, which we know about microtubulin, et cetera, all the way up. And so it would be very ludicrous for us to think that people who that there wouldn't be certain people who were able to tune their cells in such a way to be able to read the quantum field better. Not perfectly, not purely, right? And it would take a lot of time and effort but I spent decades of my life in Zen Buddhist studies. Mm-hmm. And I read a great book while I was finishing the Special Forces qualification course at Robin Sage, actually, the final culmination exercise, called The Quantum and the Lotus. And it was a conversation between an astrophysicist who grew up in Vietnam as a Buddhist and a Tibetan monk who he was a Frenchman, who had been a master's and professional chemist, kind of like our friend Tom, right? Only the chemistry part. But it was a conversation between a former Western scientist become Buddhist Rinpoche and a former Buddhist educated, raised individual who became an astrophysicist. And it's a Quantum and Lotus. It's 100 pages or so, but it's a brilliant conversation between those two worlds. And earlier, gosh, I don't know, probably in the 80s or 90s, I'd run across another title that was, or a paper, I think, that was Buddha the Physicist. And so, and then His Holiness the Dalai Lama has articulated in his sessions and meetings with all of his leaders that if science disproves something that we believe, we need to change what we believe. Real science, fundamental science, etc. So I'm not opposed. I'm also fairly serious about engineering and science and those things too. So
thank you. And what I hear in what you're saying, and it reflects, I suppose, my whole approach, that I'm always willing to consider new and novel ideas, because that's the only way I'm going to learn and grow. If I dismiss it out of hand, I wouldn't have discovered Bitcoin. I wouldn't have decided to home educate. I wouldn't have gone high fat, low carb. I wouldn't have gone to Quaker meetings and got all the value and benefit from those notions. And then it reminded me of a book I read ages ago, The Tao of Physics. Can't remember. I think Fritjof Capra, wrote it.
Yeah, I think so.
He looked at quantum physics and the parallels and where it intersects with Buddhism and Hinduism. So very interesting. Anyway, okay. And then actually, if I've had my head twisted by both of you in good ways. Oh, right. And I'm willing to have my head twisted, right, or rather bent into shape, because what's out there, the general discourse, is what makes us malformed, is what's twisted my head the wrong way. So let me get myself straight. Okay. Now, Lauren, you did a video with myself and Alex Craner at end of June. Oh, by the way, if people are watching, please subscribe, comment, like, and I'll have all the links in the description below. And go and follow Lauren and go and follow EM. And you and I, we're going to be talking about what the stars foretell, or what the future could happen with regards to the royal family, and how it plays into this struggle between globalists and sovereigntists. And in particular, we're going to look at King Charles, Prince William, Prince Harry as well.
I hope.
A little bit, yeah.
A little bit, right? I mean, and by the way, I'm not in. This is not sort of one of those gossip channels, and they're like, well, Meghan, I'm sorry, EM, if that's what you wanted. Will Meghan, how is it going to work out? All of that. It's not that. Right? This is hard politics. Right?
This is not a rag.
Yeah. So, Lauren, you and I, we did a video with Alex Craner at end of June, and you said September. We looked at Kier Starmer. You said September would be really, really bad for Kier Starmer. And in particular, you said September the 10th and September the 30th. And you said September the 30th, you said he could, you didn't say he would, you said he could lose his position. What's going to happen? And then we did a follow-up video. And again, you emphasized that because what had happened with Kier Starmer on September the 10th, all the stuff about Peter Mandelson came out, and Peter Mandelson, the Prince of Darkness, had to resign. Nothing bad happened on September the 30th that we know about. Nothing significant. And it has been a really, really rotten month for him. So do you want to give us a quick update, and then we'll get into the royal family?
And just FYI, I have no way of making this without the web page on the top. So looking at Kier Starmer's chart, he has some Mars transits coming up. Mars is action. Could be positive, could be negative, but it gets things going, gets things moving. So with what happened in September, what happened on the eclipse, everything that happened in his chart on the eclipse could be of something that's getting activated or reactivating things that happened in September, like bringing them back to the surface. Could be new things coming back out about him. We're at October the 10th right now. So October the 20th, at the very end of October. Now, that's actually pretty interesting. October the 30th, this is also, we have Comet Atlas going perihelion with the sun. And that could be a nothing to him, but this is energy coming in from interstellar, energy coming into our solar system, passing closest to our sun. And we have Mercury squaring his Uranus. This is his communication. The way he speaks, how he speaks, he could be coming out with a new plan of some sort, some new information that seems to be almost out of the blue, coming from him, from his mouth. Okay, Mercury's in his fourth house, his third house. Okay, so this is communication next to Mars. he could be voicing his opinion about something, maybe something that he wants to change within, being in Parliament at the head of, the UK, something he wants to change radically for the people. The Workers' Party. What is the Workers' Party?
Workers' Party is George Galloway's party.
Okay, so, but he could be trying to introduce something new into the country. I don't see it playing out very well if there is something that he's trying to introduce. It's like he's almost trying to remake himself, who he is. And November is really when the transits get activated for Mars. Excuse me, I can't see the top of my screen, so I have to keep making my screen smaller. So October, at the very end of October, we could start to hear stuff about him again. Him coming back into the spotlight, almost trying to redo himself. Almost maybe sound like he's for the people with some radical new ideas. Right. In November, though, we have a lot of Mars transits. On the 17th specifically, we have Mars opposite. Mars will be at the bottom of his chart, opposite to the very top of his chart. And it'll also be squaring to his sun, which is at the top of his chart. Ooh. So he could have some protests against him, against maybe what he said at the very end of October. Perhaps whatever he's trying to bring about to the people that sounds like this great, wonderful new idea to help maybe with the finances of the country. People, they hear it, maybe they digest it, but then maybe people start to speak back to him. Or it could also be shining a spotlight on other things that he's done, and people, again, are just speaking out against him, for him. November looks like to be more of a more difficult time for him as well, especially with these Mars transits in important parts of his chart. Him himself will be in the spotlight. I don't think it'll be a good way in the spotlight, but it could be connected to the very end of October with whatever he comes out with, some radical change that he's speaking about for the country, for the people. Okay. All right. Well,
yeah. Let's see, end of November. When you say he's going to come out with some new idea, I'm like, oh my God. He doesn't have a great track on his latest new ideas, digital ideas. And ideas coming down the line are lowering the age of voting to 16 and 17, possibly giving foreign nationals the vote. Don't know, I wouldn't doubt it. It wouldn't be surprised if he would do that. And of course, replacing the House of Lords with an elected assembly, which would completely undermine the English Constitution. Yes. Right. Well, thank you. Ian, anything you want to say on this, or shall we just move on to the royal?
No, just listening. I'm just processing right now.
Okay, great. All right. Lauren, thank you so much. And again, I have the links in the description below if you want to check out Lauren's work. Highly recommended. Okay. The royal family. Why on earth, Ian, should you and I have a conversation about the astrology of the royal family? And in particular, Charles, William, King Charles, Prince William, Prince Harry, Kate Middleton, and Meghan Markle.
Down underneath the English civilization, now more than 1,000 years on, unbroken, is still heavily pagan and very earthly Christian, more Orthodox Christian, which is very, very different than later Christianity, right? Rigid, doctrinal kind of Christianity. It's in its own way, early Christianity in the first centuries was more animist. I'm not saying it was animist, but in many ways it was more animist. And the British peoples, the English peoples, are still very steeped in, I don't want to say mysticism, but in that animism, the connection to the land. People talk about ley lines and other things, but there's reasons there's all the henges in the British Isles. There's reasons for, pilgrimages, etc. I also heard a thing that I've not been able to validate, but it's come through multiple sources, which is that Prince William himself, his mother was induced so that he was born on one of the solstices.
Oh,
right?
That's very interesting, actually. Yeah.
And in English history, going back again 1,000+ years, it is a William that restores the kingdom, the English kingdom specifically, of which the English civilization, that is the core. It's not the only member. So removing the British crown, removing the occupation of the British crown by the Europeans, as we've discussed several times before, is absolutely essential. But the English-speaking peoples have been falling for a psyop about no princes, etc., for a very long time, for centuries and centuries, and have no comprehension, really, because it is very hard to articulate fully of how destructive the loss of the crown would be, right? And it's not because of the crown lands, etc. It's because in all of the corruption of the political systems, governance systems, financial systems, etc., that's been going on for the last 340 some odd years that the crown has been occupied and controlled, completely and utterly controlled, all of the rights and titles and the obligations and commitments to everything has been corrupted, and the last clean title to everything is the English crown. So if there was to be a hard reset back to a defensible readout, which is our civilization, the crown is absolutely essential.
Okay. All right.
Whether it's going to be able, like I have a very strong disagreement with Tom, and he and I were arguing it out a bit yesterday in direct messages on X, right? He thinks that Trump went there to give the king, His Majesty, terms of surrender. I don't believe that's what happened. I believe that Trump went there to tell His Majesty, we have your back. We have your back, and we have William's back. He did say he's a great king. He said it more than once. He also stated in that public dinner at Windsor, before he met with the sock puppets in government, right, foreign-owned sock puppets, he also stated that William would be a good king afterwards. After. So I don't believe that Trump went there to call for the surrender of the crown. I think Trump went there knowing full well the Praetorian problem, which is what first conversation I think you and I had, and articulated to His Majesty and His Royal Highness and the inner family that should they choose to exercise their constitutional rights and prerogatives on behalf of the English-speaking peoples and the Commonwealth, right, those still adherent to the Commonwealth, that they would be backed and supported by the United States. Now, what does that bring about? What that brings about is the reaction by the occupiers, who've been in control of the crown from the shadows for 340 some odd years, 360 years. This brings out the things that Starmer says and does, because he's he's purely a sock puppet, right? A meat puppet for others, European powers, continental powers, right? So if I am right that Trump went, and his mother was a Scot, a McLeod, by the way, right? Like Highlander. Trump's one of those that can be only one. But if I'm right, then we're going to, and Prince William showed up with some guy here recently at a pub and had a little impromptu interview outside of the BBC and everything scripted, etc. And in that, he mentioned his brother Harry, right? And what they grew up with, and he didn't touch upon it, but what they grew up with and about, that being removed, etc., so that they, people did not need to grow up with that again. I suspect that was the occupation and the persistent threat and all of that. So I believe very firmly that what happens to the English crown happens to the English-speaking people writ large.
Okay, absolutely fascinating. And I'm a big fan of Tom Luongo's work. I don't necessarily listen with everything, right? But I've learned a lot from him. And similarly, I'm a big fan of your work. I don't necessarily agree with everything, but I'm willing to listen. So it's great that you have a disagreement. I
agree with most of his other things. Which I told him. But the problem is that if we don't, the last time we were convinced not to be loyal to our king, they beheaded the king. And within 40 years, we were enslaved to this very day.
Yeah. Yeah. And what's just a little bit of context and color to what you said. So you and I did a video, and one of the things I learned from you, and it made complete sense, is how powerful families, royal families, nobility, that they think in generations in ways that I don't think that way, because I don't have such a large legacy and wealth to hold on to. So ordinary people don't think that way. But if the family's been, like you said, the Middleton family are English,
old
English for many generations, then they've got a tradition and a legacy that they want to preserve. Or Tom Luongo said about Jerome Powell being like 7th generation pure American. So he's harking back to that. So, and then you also told me that it was the late Queen Elizabeth, who took William under her wing and
Correct.
raised him,
Correct.
certainly had a lot of influence over his life, and that she herself is a sovereigntist
Yes.
and wanted
I even think King George III, when America broke it, I think King George III was actually helping the Americans gain their independence
right.
as a way to set a thing in motion that would eventually break the English-speaking people free of this from the Shadows Praetorian control of Europe. And
Yep.
we're just now getting to it.
Yep. And then for people not familiar with the notion of Praetorian Guard, well, it's the security services
Yes.
who essentially protect the nobility.
Protect.
Yeah, who protect the royal family, and thus are a threat to the royal family because they're the gangsters. Look, we're the ones with the violence. You do as we say, right?
Or we'll kill a princess here in a car crash, or we'll kill King George VI, right, with a poison, and yeah,
or Princess Diana.
Well, that's what I meant by the car crash.
Yes.
Or we'll blow up Lord Mountbatten, who probably was actually not trying to coup the family, but was actually trying to throw out the Praetorians, which would look like a violent coup because you'd have to use violence to throw out violence, and so you got to get rid of Mountbatten.
Now that, and we mentioned this, and we talked about this last conversation about Lord Mountbatten. Yeah. That's a head twister because I'd always come across information that suggests that he was a paedophile, and that's why the IRA killed him. So here's another perspective, another way of looking at it that is still plausible and viable, and could actually be closer to the truth. Because what a great way of smearing someone, perhaps the definitive way of smearing someone, is calling them a paedophile. But that doesn't mean that Jimmy Savile is innocent, though.
Well, no, there are pedophiles. Give me a second. The other piece is that the whole troubles in Ireland was an MI6 operation on both sides.
So what was that?
So the whole troubles in Ireland was an operation, an MI6 operation to get Sinn Féin into government power so that they could basically reverse the whole Irish independence. Look how Sinn Féin has voted and acted since. They've re-enslaved Ireland to Europe, to the Praetorians. That whole thing was an operation. And Lord Mountbatten, my firm belief is Lord Mountbatten had the men, had the loyalty, had the trust, had the respect, and he was going to move. He was moving against all of this, and that's why they took him out.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, again, that's another head twister, and it makes sense because MI6, what the British elites have done everywhere is gang versus counter gang, playing both sides, and
it's the Praetorians. Yeah. It's what Praetorians do. It's what they did to Rome. It's what ultimately ended Rome.
Yeah, and it's how the British ruled India, gang versus counter gang. And okay, enough. Let's get some astrology. Let's look to the stars. I love it. And for people who don't understand the concept of astrology and how can these rocks in the sky have any effect on us, you've got to start with the premise that we're all energy, different concentrations of energy, but it's all energy, and that we're influenced by different energies. Like, for example, if I walk into the room and I'm in a really bad mood, even if I don't say anything, you may pick it up, versus if I walk into the room and I'm all joyous and effusive, and I don't say anything, you'll pick up a different vibe. So large celestial bodies are large bodies of concentrated energy that then influence us.
So, are you guys familiar with the electric universe theory?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So, if you're not, I would go to the Thunderbolts channel on YouTube.
Okay.
All right. I think it's just called Thunderbolts. But, the idea of Berkeley currents and all those things, and, as an electrical engineer, I'm like, that makes a lot of sense, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So.
Okay. Very good. Now, where shall we start? Which royal should we start?
Let's start with King Charles. So I did look at him first because, well, he's the king right now, so he has the most influence, we'll say, right now over England.
Responsibility. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, yeah, he's been waiting years and years and years and years to become king. Okay, I'm ready now. I got a little off-centered with Kier Starmer. Okay.
Don't we all?
He throws everybody off.
Yes.
It's that little poof's job. He knows he was supposed to be the bad guy. He knows he's supposed to take the blame for all of this. He's playing his role knowingly, wittingly. He knows he was supposed to be hated.
In our first video, Lauren and I did, the one I referenced earlier about about Starmer.
Mm.
Look, Lauren described him from his astrological birth chart accurately.
Mm,
Paraphrase, you didn't use these words, but it just completely fits. He's venal. He has
correct.
no integrity. He doesn't care. He's brutal.
False scum. False scum.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, and Lauren, I just got to acknowledge the work that you do with your slides
All my notes.
and your notes. Yes.
Correct.
No integrity. He doesn't care. He's brutal.
False scum. False scum.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, and Lauren, I just got to acknowledge the work that you do with your slides
All my notes.
and your notes. Yes.
Okay. So with King Charles, I know that he is suffering from cancer. Is that correct? He's ill right
Kidneys
now.
probably. His hands would indicate severe kidney problems.
Okay. Now this has been announced, correct? That he has cancer. Okay.
I don't know. Has it been announced? I don't know if it's been
I don't know.
announced.
Kate was died. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know that it has been.
Yeah,
Okay.
people have noticed his chubby fingers or whatever, and
That's kidneys. So that's a renal issue for the
Okay.
hands. Yeah. And you can see it in the pallor of his face. It's
okay.
kidney issues. Yeah.
At the end of this month, October, he has 2 transits going on. These transits they're happening at the end of October, and they will reappear next year, January 22nd and 23rd, because the planets will go retrograde and they'll come back to these points. So this is Neptune it's a square to his Uranus, and Neptune is in a square to his natal Jupiter. These are outer planets. They have a larger effect. It's not like a daily effect. They have a larger impact. To me, it looks like his health will decline. And I also looked at Vedic astrology for this because something that I do look at is when people pass away. I try to see how to understand what the charts look like, because it's different for everybody. There's not like a definite, your Pluto's here and then you're going to pass away. His chart, to me, it looks like it's reflecting either his health will seriously deteriorate and they could be trying to hide it from between now through January, even into February, but his health could overcome him at some point, possibly around early next year. And I know that's a big thing to say, but the things going on in his chart is making it look like his health is going to seriously decline. Now, with Neptune, it makes things murky. You try to tell lies, tell illusions, so they could be trying to cover it up even more than they've been covering it up.
Or something very different. Or something
or something completely different. But this is going to add stress.
Related, but very different.
Mm-hmm.
There is a history of killing off older monarchs to bring in the next monarch and to kill off the older monarch. This goes back, again, to the late 1600s as a means of demonstrating power and control.
Oh, okay. Well, that ties into February 2026. Mm-hmm. Now, one more point about his health and his decline. This is Vedic astrology because I had to just double check. There's 2 different systems, and I just wanted to back up my information here. Pluto, this is in Vedic astrology, will be in his 8th house in Aquarius. Oh, excuse me. It's in 7th house. Excuse me. But that is going to be his relationship to himself, relationship to the people, sudden transformation, maybe sudden endings of things for himself, maybe ending a monarchy. Moving into February. Now, I'm not saying that he is going to pass away or pass on now or between now and February 2026, but there's things in his chart that are saying that he will become possibly more ill, or something will happen to him where he might step down from being king, whether it's he's still alive and he's sick, or something, he passes on to the next world.
I suspect he's going to abdicate, yes.
And that would be meaning stepping down from power?
Yeah. I suspect he's going to abdicate, but he's going to take as much of the blame of things as he can to take that off of his son, right, as he can, but that's going to put him in direct conflict, which is already there, with Starmer and the government and the foreign-owned Europeans. But my suspicion, I've written on this, is that he's going to abdicate. It's interesting the timing
Okay.
that you're talking
So
about.
in March 20th to be exact. Now, again, when I'm saying these dates, doesn't mean that something's going to happen exactly on that day. You know, things will be. I would usually say like before the date that I'm saying. You know, a week or two out could happen, even a week or two afterwards, but around the 20th.
Oh.
Saturn and Neptune will be conjunct in conjunct in the sign of Aries. Okay, this is King Charles's birth chart. They'll be conjunct in the sign of Aries at 0 degrees. During this time, let me pull up, excuse me. No, I can't pull up his chart. That Neptune will be, Saturn and Neptune that are transiting in the sky will be squaring again to Jupiter and Uranus, whether it's expanding his illness, expanding stresses in his life. Jupiter will be square to natal Neptune and the very bottom of his chart. Neptune.
Let me share
let me share. Let me get.
Very interesting. A word just came out of your mouth. Natal.
When Saturn and Neptune are next to each other, right here, we'll be at 0 degrees. This is everywhere in the world. That 0 degrees is this world degree. Large changes, large events, like and to me, in my mind, royalty comes into my mind, like changing of the throne. You know, one king going out and then a new king coming in. That's, to me, that's what I'm getting when I'm looking at this, especially for his chart.
Makes sense.
Because I'll bring this up afterwards, but William and Harry's charts coincide with this.
Mm-hmm.
So he has these challenges. So Saturn and Neptune here, this is February 20th, 2026. He'll be in a square to his natal Uranus at 29 degrees and his natal Jupiter at 29 degrees. 29 degrees is the ending of something. It's the completion of something you've done. Could be life. It's a completion. So you've graduated and you're going to the next level. With Saturn and Neptune at this 0 degrees, the beginning of it's like starting one thing and ending another. I really see this as, this could be around the time of when he is stepping down, for whatever reasons he's stepping down, and possibly William coming into the king picture. He also has Pluto here with this transformation, death, rebirth, but it peeling away the things that are no longer working. And it's next to this descendant line here. Before I go any further, this descendant, midhaven, ascendant, and IC line, extremely important parts in anybody's chart. They are a huge signifier that of life changes, life events are occurring. And with Pluto here, again, it's just pulling all this stuff together with Saturn, Neptune squaring to Jupiter, Uranus. With Pluto here next to the descendant, it's just an indicator to me that it's an ending of something in his life. Relationships in his life, maybe relationship to the people, relationship to the throne, to England. But to me, it looks like this is when he's going to be stepping down and away, however that happens. Whether it's forced to or it's a natural stepping away. That's what I see around February 2026.
Correct.
Yeah.
I think it'll be for health.
Health? That's what you
I
think?
think he's going to step down for health.
Yeah, I definitely think so. Again, it could be passing away. I know it's a huge thing to say for a king, but
if it's passing away, they killed him.
Right, or one, or whether we know that, when with Neptune.
This is the Sport of Kings, people. We're not talking the Great Game. That's what Starmer's playing. There's a thing above that where real power is, actual power.
Right.
That's the Sport of Kings, and they got no problem killing a king.
Yep. So
many times.
Yep, and with Neptune and Saturn here, it's like it could, if he was to be taken out, it could be that the people in the background here, the shadows in the dark, could be taking him out to still hold on to their power.
Yep.
Because Saturn Neptune here at 0 degrees it's a huge deal. It hasn't happened for hundreds and hundreds of years. It's starting a new system, possibly maybe a new royalty system or something. I would be
interested to see if it goes. The last time it was 340 years ago or 380 years ago when it started.
It's I will get back to you on that one. It's been a very long time since they've been together at Aries 0 degrees. I was just going to say something and I just lost my train of thought. But with William's chart and Harry's chart, with William's chart, let me pull his chart up because this all ties in together. It's like it tells a story of just tells a story of all their lives. And Harry is, again, this hasn't been announced, but he's not King Charles's son, like natural son. I know that's not a thing that's been announced yet, but that's a, okay.
But historically, not just in the English system, but in most all historical systems, it's the bastard that comes back at the end and saves everything.
Okay.
And sometimes the bastard gets put on the throne. Just putting that out there for everybody hates Harry.
Okay. All right. That actually.
Not saying that's going to happen.
No, but I'm going to keep that in mind when we bring up Harry. So,
and just on that, it's widely held notion that Harry is not Charles's son. He's the name of the butler or something.
Bodyguard.
No, yeah, Her Majesty's, Her Royal Highness's equerry.
Right.
Yeah.
That like her right hand.
Harry looks like him. He doesn't look like King Charles. Whereas William looks like King Charles.
Yes. Particularly the hairline.
Yeah.
For those of us who are DHT and follically challenged, right?
This is Prince William's chart. Same day, February 20th, 2026. And
sorry, was he born on a solstice, Lauren?
He was born on the 21st of June, 1982. Yep. Yep, he was. He was. And I definitely wouldn't be surprised if they did induce her. So he would be born because.
Okay, so in the back channels in the old family, that I come from, etc., that's the thing that's been whispered for a long time, that Her Royal Highness was induced so he would be born on, what is that, the summer solstice?
Yeah.
Yep.
Right? Yeah. Which, again, summer solstice in the old English system going all the way back has very high. Summer solstice is the time when everybody comes together.
Right. Yep.
Right? It's the unity.
Yep. The sun's coming back to life.
Yep.
The king, sun.
Harvest hasn't come yet, right? But we're all coming together. Yeah.
And that would make sense because the sun also represents a king, ruler, royalty.
Wow.
So
hold on a second. Say this is from people.com. When his mother, Princess Diana, gave birth to him on June the 21st, 1982, Prince William had to be induced because I couldn't handle the pressure any longer. It was becoming unbearable, Diana later told her confident journalist Andrew Morton. It was as if everybody was monitoring every day for me.
Well, they were.
That's Her Royal Highness playing her part, right? And I'm actually a fan of Her Royal Highness. I also know that she had some issues, and who doesn't? Truly upper class families are horrible to one another. It's just the way it is because there's so many other obligations. Yeah, I suspect that's just Her Royal Highness providing the argument that we can all live with. Right?
Yeah. Yes.
And that's the other thing. Her Royal Highness took upon herself the role of somewhat of the whipping. As the bad guy, right? So.
Yeah. And also they were monitoring me every day. And of course they would be.
Yes.
The future king. But also, if what you're saying, Ian, is accurate, and it's entirely plausible, because billionaires don't use astrology, billionaires do, the powerful do, the powerful do.
Well, the monarchs do. The royals do. And by the way, the Praetorians do too, because they know how to play on the myth systems.
Right. So of course they'd want a future king to be born most auspicious of days.
Yeah.
Longest day of the year.
Particularly if secretly they were setting him up to be the king who restores.
Okay, so what does it mean? What does it mean that he was, from an astrological perspective, Lauren, that he was born on the solstice? Just that on its own.
Just that on its own, it's I would say, okay, so the summer, the solstice is spring. It's the sun is, spring. The sun is coming back to life, but the sun in the summertime it's in its fullness, full glory. It's fully seen.
It's full power.
It rules the sky, the sun.
Yeah. It's in its full power.
Yep.
Full power.
Yep. So I would say that would be them using astrology, the heavens, the energy to to really say yes, symbolize, say that he is the king. They wanted him to be born on the solstice at the 0 degree to start maybe a new monarchy, a new line,
a restoration.
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Because if they are planning generations and generations back, then they have to know that at some point something is going to have to change. You know, like it can't be the same forever. They've been in charge for so long. They obviously know that at some point this is going to have to be different. Then we're going to have to go through this radical revolution, and then this will, you know, if they're planning everything in advance, I would say that with him, Sun is at 0 degrees. It's like starting a fresh new monarchy. Right. Modernizing the monarchy, perhaps, because
I think it's a restoration.
Restoration?
I think it's a restoration. I think a thing was set in motion in the 1960s that actually was set in motion over 250 years ago, led to the creation of the United States, the U.S. Constitution, which is a far better representation of the English Constitution, the Bill of Rights, which comes out of the English Bill of Rights. It's taken 200 and some odd years to get the United States into a position where it was the dominant force, just like Constantinople out of Rome, 2 millennia, nearly 2 millennia ago. And what was set in motion in the 1960s by the assassinations of the Kennedys and others was a recognition that we have to bring about the full removal of this Praetorian system, this Praetorian regime.
So I'm sorry.
Terribly sorry. And all of that effort going back to the 1700s, 1600s, really, because this would have been set in motion at least when King Charles II was put back on the throne, if not when King Charles I was arrested and then beheaded. This counter would have been set in motion. If not then it would have been in 1688 when we had a fake king put on our throne. We have to think, again, these people think in terms of centuries, right, or millennia. Mm-hmm. And so we have to think that, thank you, honey, we have to think that there would have been a counter set in motion at least, if not before 1688, but very much then at 1688, and we're just now getting to the culmination of it. But all the things have got to line up, and all the subtle things, and that really do mean a lot to people, right? All those things that have to line up, because you're talking about a major fundamental, and at this point, 340-year total change.
Okay.
I'm sorry, one quick question. When you say restoration, do you mean to restore it back to like its goodness, that people love it? Okay.
Yes, so to restore the crown as the executive of the three power system, right? So the same that we have here in the United States, right? The executive is the president, then you have the judiciary, and then you have Congress, which is parliament there, right? Mm-hmm. So a restoration of a balance of power, but with the executive acting almost solely on behalf of the people. Now here we have an electoral system, there we have an hereditary system, but it would be what it would be fully is just removing this parasite that's been living upon all of us for 3.5 centuries.
Okay.
And that parasite being the city of London.
Well, and before that, Venice and Amsterdam. Now they're in UAE and Qatar, and now we're going to have to fight that out and all of that. But it would be, for all intents and purposes, what it would be is a restoration of English constitutionality.
Okay.
Right? And the monarch is very much a part of that constitutionality. In fact, they are the critical executive. But if you look back to the 1688s, even before, all the way back to the 1650s, well, whenever Cromwell was gone, I can't remember. But if you look all the way back to when King Charles II was put on the throne, and then King James II was put on the throne, and then they were cast aside, and William of Orange was put on the throne, the monarch has not been able to be an executive, fill the executive role since King Charles was dethroned. So this isn't necessarily, this is not a restoration of absolute monarchy or any of that, right? Because again, English monarchies were not, we developed in direct refutation. We didn't want an absolute monarch. That was the French system. That was the, systems in the continental Europe. So my suspicion would be a restoration of English constitutionality and English common law, free of foreign occupation and occupiers, of which, as the executive, the crown must be restored.
Yes.
To the people, right? To being responsible to the people, accountable to the people, not accountable to the guys in their security forces with knives and poisons and and car crashes and everything else, right?
Yeah. Wow.
Okay, thank you, Ian. Lauren, by the way, this is why people should subscribe so they can keep up to date with these conversations as they go. All right, so Lauren, let's go back to Prince William.
Okay, yeah, this is Prince William. So, same time, February 20th, 2026, around that time. In his chart, he has his sun at 0 degrees because he's born on the solstice, but he also has Jupiter at 0 degrees.
Interesting.
That's in Scorpio. That's just like ultimate power. That could be used for good, but that's just like a signature of like this ultimate expansion of powerful. Scorpio could be inheritance of power. Obviously, he would inherit it from his father. But during this time, Uranus will be at 27 degrees, the 6th house of his chart. Sudden change in his daily life. 6th house is his day-to-day activities, what he does. For him, if there was a change of power, this could be signaling a sudden shift in what he does. Going from prince to king is obviously, it's a big change. It's a big deal. And he
but also from doing charity, face work to actually governance.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
That would be an even bigger change.
Mm-hmm. Like the responsibility of the crown,
of being the
people.
executive. Yeah.
And we also have Jupiter, transiting Jupiter. All the planets on the outside here are transiting planets. The ones that are going on the sky at the moment. The ones on the inside are his natal planets. Jupiter, transiting Jupiter will be next to his north node. That's his destiny. What is he destined to do in his life? His north node's at 14 degrees. Cancer is like a motherly maternal, taking care of the country, of the people. With Jupiter in the 8th house next to the north node, how I'm reading it is inheriting from his father, becoming the king. It's like it's his destiny to expand England, expand the monarchy, not like a dictatorship, but perhaps bring in a new way of the ruling, of how to do things.
The restoration alone would be a massive change. Wouldn't need any more powers, wouldn't need to give up any more powers, would just have to actually go back to exercising, being free to exercise English constitutionality, as our friend Graham Moore talks about.
Right. And
even though he's against the crown.
and Saturn and Neptune, when they're in Aries, the moon will be close by. The 5th house, that's also represents that king-like energy. Again, starting something, bringing values back to the people, changing the value. That the people's values are changing. They'll be being changed. It's like you said, restoring, bringing a sense of domesticism. Having patriotism for the country.
English civilizational. I wrote a book, Our English Civilization.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Englishness.
Now, transiting over to Harry's chart.
Okay.
You did mention it's the, I would say it's not stepson, but it's not
bastard.
The bastard son is the one who could be coming into power, or the ultimate.
Not necessarily the power. So historically, what the bastards do is a great paper out of Cambridge on this, by the way. Very well done. But historically, in times of great crisis, where the noble house or the royal house are under real threat from within or without, the bastard is the one that comes back and saves everything. Okay. Because they can do the things that, the one who's going to hold the title or holds the title can't do. The bastard things. Okay. It's actually why we're called bastards, right?
Okay.
But they're not a threat to the actual title or throne because they don't have the legitimacy. However, in the worst case, and this has happened historically as well, and oh, by the way, this even happens in wealthy elite families, not just, so long-lived, many generations of wealthy elite families, but in the worst case where the conflict period kills the one who has legitimate right to the throne or the title, or the inheritance, right, the family's estate, the bastard child does have enough legitimacy that they can be fully adopted by the family and then assume the title or the throne. And that has happened as well. Now, heaven forbid that happens here, or we get to that. But historically, that is the role of the bastard, is at the utmost. They come home, often as the prodigal, and they come home and they do the ugly shit that's got to be done to make sure that the transition occurs and the family survives, right? The family, the estate, the title, the lands, in this case, as a king, the civilization in the kingdom survives, right? Not just the family.
Okay. So it's very interesting, excuse me, that you said that, because I'll bring his chart up in a second. On the same day, the 20th, 2026, his Saturn and Neptune will be next to the very bottom part in his chart, and Lilith will be there. This has to do with domestic life responsibilities, and I would say for the homeland, for England, for the crown. And it's also bringing up things from the past. Like you said, being a bastard child, it could be bringing that up. Somehow that could, like, him doing things that maybe the king can't do because he isn't the direct descendant, getting away with it, but expansion through relationships, possibly him and William coming together, having a better relationship, him working with him to get things done that he couldn't do on his own. So let me bring up his chart now.
That the king can't do.
Right.
By the by, I just wrote indirectly, well, not direct reference, of course, but I just wrote the Bastard Prince into my novel, As Earl Burns.
Oh.
So I'm very interested in this chart right now because I've literally just written the Bastard Prince into two chapters, and now he's going to be a major character in this novel and the next one.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, this, excuse me. So this is his.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is his birth chart. Quickly in his birth chart, looking at it, being a bastard son, he has Neptune next to Jupiter, and Neptune is in his 12th house at the very end. That could be secrets hidden from him about his life, about who he is. I just wanted to bring that up. But back to the 20th of February. Now he has his moon next to the descendant. Hold on. Excuse me, I'm sorry. So Saturn and Neptune at the bottom of his chart, they're not next to the IC line. They're just next to Lilith. Excuse me. This is very important anyways. So it's bringing things back, digging things back up, bringing things up to the surface about his history, about who he is from the past.
Why he's so angry. Maybe we all find out.
Yeah.
Maybe he has reasons to be angry.
Yes.
Maybe they know him. He knows they killed his mother.
And,
right?
I could probably say he probably senses that King Charles is not his dad. He could have just, in the back of his mind, he could sense it. Be like, I know this.
He actually knows it. But His Majesty, when he was assuming the crown in several, I watched very closely, even though Harry is not his son, Charles loves him as his son. You can hear it in the conversations. You can hear it in the tone of his voice when he speaks about His Royal Highness Prince Harry. He loves him as his son.
Okay, well that's good. I'm sorry. Okay, so back to I just lost my train of thought. So back to the 20th.
Terribly sorry. Yeah, terribly sorry.
So this at the bottom of his chart, and again, all the information that you just told me, he could be coming in to help his brother. He could be doing the dirty work, digging down below the surface, because he does have Pluto here in his birth chart. He has Pluto at 0 degrees, rebelling against, changing the tides of things, doing things in the dark. What I mean by that is, doing things that people don't always see, but it's making great changes in the background.
Literally what I just wrote in my novel. Sorry. Yeah. In the novel, he has a private military contract company. He's a member of the Order, which is Secret Order of Knights, etc. And anyways, awesome.
Sounds like it'd be a great show or something like that.
Yeah, well, we're working on that. Yeah. Um,
With Jupiter here next to his descendant, again, he could be coming back into connection with William. His relationship with William could be reflecting on what's going on with the country, meaning like say they're coming back together, say they begin to have a closer relationship again. That could be reflecting to the people, meaning that the country begins to have love itself again, be like, I love that I am, from London. I love that you're my king. Like they have pride again.
That I am English. Interesting.
Yeah. We do have the North Node in the third house and the South Node. Okay, just going to the South Node here. It's like he's breaking karmic cycles, karmic patterns of the past.
Mm-hmm.
And this could be in relationship to what he's doing, what he's being summoned for, called for. I mean, I don't know. I know some things about the royal family, but I don't know much. But, it could be William that calls him to come and do this. Or he could be coming to do this on his own, because we also have Mercury here in the third house in Pisces at this time. So he could almost be feeling that maybe his brother needs him, like he's being called up by his own instincts that, I need to go see my brother. I need to go help him out.
He is a warrior, and he has been in war, and he has been in combat. Yeah.
Right, yep.
And there's a warrior sense to
go and be like,
fight.
yeah.
Time to set the fight aside. Yeah.
Let's go do this. So that's what I have
Interesting.
For the royal family.
Interesting. Did you do Her Royal Highness, future Her Majesty Kate?
No, I didn't. And I meant to actually look at the late Queen Elizabeth, because I just wanted to see how her chart could have tied in. But I didn't do that. I didn't focus on it. Maybe next time.
I suspect, and again, is with inducing for His Royal Highness to be born on the solstice, summer solstice, right? Most powerful in English, British, forget the British, that's a psyop, but the English peoples. I also suspect that the Middletons are common, but not so common, right? Not a very old, respectable English family, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I suspect that too, while genuine, if you see them, they actually love each other. They have an actual wonderful relationship, and you can see it in their children, and, right? So there's a genuine mutual respect there. That itself is a signal for those who, read the tea leaves, as you say, right? Or the electrons moving around the circuits. That's another signal of the restoration of the bond, this divine bond between the crown and the people, in the very form of their marriage, and the very fact that he married. And when I say commoner, again, I don't mean a common person. I don't mean a peasant, etc. But marrying a non-royal, non-noble house, but old English family, is itself a signal, whether it happens or not, because the enemies of all of us are going to try to destroy everything, as they do every minute, right? But that itself is, and then having children, beautiful, wonderful children, right? That itself is one of the surest signs of the desire of the crown, right? And to restore the covenant that is the bonded relationship between the king and the people.
Like a fractal.
It's a fractal. Yeah. Yeah, it's a Mandelbrot, right? It's one of the Mandelbrot sets of sets. Yeah. So very fascinating.
Okay, well, the key takeaways I get is what you're saying is...
Thank you, by the way. Yeah.
Thank you both. Is that come January, King Charles is unwell.
Yes.
His health is going to worsen significantly in the early new year, in early part of 2026, January, February. Possibly he may abdicate, or something else may happen that he's no longer the king, and that William steps in. And that there's a reunification between William and Harry.
Yeah.
That's correct. Yep.
Which is so crazy, because I felt this and I talked it and I've talked with people who actually know the family directly and communicate. I've communicated this for 6 years now. Harry is the key. And when we see a transition in Harry, we know that everything's changing. Everything's happening. So here's my suspicion. I'm not reading the charts and all of that. I read history. And I've probably got all kinds of epigenetic family memories in me, right? Going back to very old England, pre-1066 days.
Oh.
My suspicion, now I don't know if it's going to play out this way exactly because the enemy is moving against us. But my suspicion is that His Majesty is going to speak against and move against Kier Starmer and the government and try and bring about force through constitutional means, which he has the constitutional, not just royal, but constitutional prerogatives to do, that he will bring about a no confidence vote in the government sometime in the next couple months.
King Charles or Prince?
His Majesty King Charles.
Oh, okay.
Okay. What that will do, which would tie in with Starmer coming out and his, meat puppet masters coming out with some new solution, right, as you articulated. But what they will do behind the scenes is they will do everything in their power to vilify, destroy the reputation of King Charles himself. They'll come up with probably pedophilia stuff because of the gentleman you mentioned earlier, that horrible BBC pedophile guy in crypto that you mentioned earlier. I suspect they'll stir up trouble as much as they can against the crown, hatred, vitriol, and all of that. And then in a moment, for health reasons, His Majesty will abdicate. But when William comes in, he will have the full faith, force, and support of the United States. Its military, its intelligence capabilities, and I doubt very much we'll send military guys there directly, advise and assist guys. But when the Civil War kicks off there, which is what's going to come, because that's why this, forgive me, but this bitch fucking was put in front of the Home Secretary, so she has control of MI5 specifically for Civil War, right? And then you got Yvette Cooper, who doesn't directly control, but overlooks MI6. That was specifically set up for Civil War. But what I suspect is William will raise the banners, and a whole lot of us are going to come answer the call.
Yep, and just
Harry will be there as one of the leaders of that. Yeah, sorry, go ahead, Rich.
Just to clarify, Lauren, and to clarify for the viewers, who EM is referring to as the bitch, and I wouldn't use. Well, I concur. She's awful. She's going to be absolutely awful. Is Shabana Mahmood, the new Home Secretary? Absolutely tyrannical Home Secretary.
She was brought in specifically to head up MI5, specifically to prey on British citizens, English Scots, Englishmen, Welsh, Scots, and Irishmen, right? The English peoples.
Yep, to provoke gang versus county.
Correct. And to use all the levers to control, to empower the insurgents over the actual legitimate citizens.
Yep. Indigents, native
Indigents. All this is going to come to a head now.
And the migrants.
You're right. So, very interesting. This tracks time-wise. This all seems to come to head maybe in February, March. Now, the other thing is, if I read or understand what you're saying correctly, is that those things, the culminations of those things, or the actual manifestations of those things, may not occur on those dates, but the events that launch the culminations and the manifestations will occur around that time. So we might not see the actual, abdication and the fight and the pushing back, etc., until later in the year. But we make decisions, and then we figure out in complex worlds, we make decisions, and then it might take us some time to figure out how exactly to act upon that decision.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Or like you said, an event could occur that sets everything in motion.
Yeah.
But I would expect around, February, start of February, things to start happening in regards to the royal family.
Well, it makes sense because we have an election here in the United States in November next year. It's midterm. It's all tied together. And if there's a massive kerfluffle back in the homelands of our peoples, etc., that also coincides with terrorist stuff here and the Antifa stuff here and the ICE stuff, it's all tied together. The English-speaking people, again, this is why, to me, the crown is still the high ground for all of us English-speaking peoples, whether we want to admit it or not. it is the flag to be taken, right, and held for everything, and everything is about that, whether we want to admit it or not. So it would make sense to me, because when I look at a counterinsurgency and open source intelligence, we expect violence to start stepping up here in February, March of next year.
Okay. Yeah. Yes. I could say that. Yeah.
Right.
Yep. That's because what Saturn and Neptune do represent is people in power trying to keep their power, but people also having these new realizations and realizing what the people in power are doing is bad, or they're pulling off the wool off of their eyes. They're seeing what's going on and they're fighting back. The Civil War occurred when Saturn and Neptune when Neptune was in Aries in 1816.
60s. Yeah.
16. Yeah. So
Interesting. I'm an Aries, by the way. I'm actually a Ram in both Eastern and Western. I was born in the year of the goat, and I'm an Aries, so I'm like double hard-headed.
there you go, double hard-headed. But stubborn though. That's good.
Lauren, I'll have the links. Thank you both very, very much. Fascinating conversation.
Yes, thank you.
And it's great to see how, I suppose, political, historical analysis intersect with astrological analysis. And we can see it playing out on the landscape currently. So thank you very much. I'll have all the links in the description below, and look forward to having you both on my channel again at some point soon. Lauren, we're going to be doing a video with about a particular cryptocurrency at some point soon. And EM, you and I are back on with GM in a couple of weeks' time. Graham Moore from the English Constitution.
Yeah.
Look forward
and
to
hopefully Alex here as well.
Yes, we need to without it screening. So please subscribe, share this video far and wide. Go check out Lauren's work. Go check out Ian's work. And let's stand for free.
And check out Rich's work.
Thank you. Indeed, yes.
All the best.
Thank you.